So I have a question from a commenter who is trying to find a sense of self. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. This commenter writes, hello, I'm a young girl who's trying to figure my way out. I have noticed I don't have a strong sense of self, especially in relationships. I try not to get into them, but I long for connection, and it doesn't make it any better because I always end up losing myself, and I'm never strong enough to be the one to walk away. Growing up, I've seen my mother in many horrible relationships, and I feel as though I resent her a little because of it, yet I continue the cycle, and I don't feel loved at home. So it makes me want to be a part of the families of the people that I end up with. So at the end, not only do I have to let the person go, but the family too. The latching on to people is so bad that it gave me severe anxiety, and I wanted to know, how do I fix this? I don't want to end up like the women around me. How do I gain that self-respect and dignity? This is a good question. So remember that TikTok advice is not therapy. And that being said, with the question that you're asking, I would also recommend maybe finding a good therapist so you could work on, exploring, family patterns in relationships, trauma, connection, community, all of those sorts of things as well. So I recommend that you find someone and you delve deeper into this outside of, what my general thoughts are around this. So I would say the first thing is, it sounds like there's a lot of trauma, and just maybe, like you said, some anger, resentment, frustration with some of the things that your mother taught you about relationships, by observation. Remember, I've always said that children are sponges and they absorb everything that their parents teach them. So it sounds like there's some wounds, trauma, or triggers around that. That would be one of the things that I would work through so that you can get to a place of acceptance. A place of acceptance of saying that your mother is who she is, and that's her story, but that does not have to mean that that is my story. So I can choose to change at any time, and she'll have to deal with her own challenges or relationship patterns and dynamics on her own. She is not me and I'm not her. So you have to learn to separate the two, and maybe even give a little bit of distance, to her, or even maybe even giving feedback, all sorts of things. I'm not sure what the dynamic is with her. I imagine too, the other thing that I would recommend working on in therapy is grief. Because it sounds like that is one of the challenges that you're struggling with. Although, your mother is very much present. I'm not sure where your father is and how he falls into this. But it sounds like one of the reasons that you want to latch on to people is because of their family, because you may not like yours. You may not feel like yours shows up in the way that you want it to, or you need them to, and therefore you become very enmeshed with their family because you want some sense of family and connection. So there's nothing wrong with wanting family and connection. That's actually something that's very good to want to have. But I think the other part of it is like admitting and accepting who your family is and doing the work around your family and maybe how they haven't shown up for you in a way that they would like. And then start thinking about the things, the values that's important to you as it relates to family, support, connection, reliability, consistency. A lot of times that's what we want in our relationships, but we primarily want that from our family first. And a lot of people usually base their values off of what maybe they didn't get. In addition to that, number three, there's an aspect of it where it sounds like you don't like being alone, and that might be why, despite you not wanting to get into a relationship, you find yourself continuously getting back into them because, again, if you haven't had a lot of family support or the ideal family environment, you may rush into connections with people for the mere fact that you don't like being by yourself. So I would recommend getting comfortable with being by yourself, exploring yourself, and that can also help you develop your sense of self too, right? It's like exploring who you are, one, in therapy, two, through hobbies, through interest, three, through self-exploration, four, travel, things of that nature. So just sort of getting out of the house and trying things, even food, going to a different place, trying hobbies and things like that to see what it is you like before you spend time with other people. Or maybe even in addition to, you have to get comfortable with spending time by yourself, so that you're not rushing into connections for the mere fact of, like, I don't like being by myself. I feel like I've always been alone. I've been abandoned by people who were supposed to be there for me, and I don't like, and exploring like career and things like that. What is it that you like and don't like, about that? Just, where do you want to live? What kind of place do you want to live in? Just developing a sense of self, because a sense of self isn't just an aspect in terms of relationships. It's also about you. Relationships, intimate partnerships, friendships, church community or community connections, peers, mentors, colleagues. Those are also other relationships. Are you developing or working on developing other relationships as well? What do you need from those other areas of relationships as well, while you're continuing to work on the big one, which is, having a relationship, or having a family dynamic, and where I'm creating my own. Another thing that I would say to you is, you mentioned that your mother was in a lot of horrible relationships. How did that make you feel? What happened to you? Where were you in all of that? Like, where did you fall into that whole dynamic when she was in horrible relationships? What happened with her relationship with you and the people that she connected to? Did you ever build a connection with some of those people? Were some of those bonds cut short due to your mother moving on, and then, or something happening, and then you never heard from people again? Like, what does it mean? Like, was there ever closure for you? Did people take you on, almost like as her child? Did they understand that, or were you kind of left out, or what was the dynamic like? So, maybe even exploring that as well. What is the dynamic like now, even as her daughter? Are you considered? Does your mother consider you as her daughter? Does she think about you in any way? How you feel, how you might respond to certain people and or situations. So maybe that's also another wound that you can work through as well. How much you are considered. So I hope that helps. And I know this was general response, but hopefully it helps. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any other suggestions as well, drop them down in the comments. Like, comment, share, and follow. You guys take care.